My name is Dylan, and for a long time I believed I was just unlucky, that I happened to live in the wrong house at the wrong time. But after everything that happened, after every night I spent awake listening for something that shouldn't exist, I realized luck had nothing to do with it. Something found me. Something that wasn't supposed to be real. Something that learned my habits, my schedule, my footsteps. Something that learned me. It all started with a head peering through a window. I moved into the house in late October. It was a small rental property a little outside of town, the kind of place that landlords call cozy, but really it just meant old and slightly crooked. But the price was good, and the backyard opened into a long stretch of woods. I liked that. I liked the privacy. I liked the quiet. I liked thinking nobody could bother me out there. For the first few nights, things felt normal. I worked from home, so I spent most of the day at my desk, and at night I'd sit on the couch and watch whatever random horror movies I could find online. Snow hadn't fallen yet, but the nights were getting cold enough to fog the windows. The first thing happened on a Wednesday night. I'd gotten up around 2 a.m., thirsty. I walked into the kitchen, got a glass of water, and as I turned to go back to bed, I passed the living room window. The curtains were halfway open. I usually didn't care if they were open or shut, but that night the moon was bright, and I noticed something outside. A shape, low, unmoving. I stepped closer, squinting through the reflection on the glass. And that was when I realized it wasn't a shape. It was a head. Someone's head. Only the top half of the face was visible. The eyes, the upper nose, the forehead, as if the person was crouched down just below the window frame and peering up into my house. But what bothered me wasn't the position. It was the eyes. They were wide, completely open, the way a person's eyes look when they're desperately trying not to blink. I froze. I didn't touch the curtains, didn't move closer, didn't even breathe for a moment. All I could do was stare back at the eyes, staring at me. After maybe 10 seconds, I stepped backward slowly, my heartbeat pounding so loud I could feel it in my fingertips. I didn't take my eyes off the window until I was nearly back in my bedroom. When I finally looked away to grab my phone, everything inside me screamed not to check again, not to go back to the living room, not to look out the window, because whatever I saw might still be there. But I forced myself to peek, and when I returned to the living room, the head was gone. I stood there for a long time, staring out at the yard. The grass was still. Nothing moved. No branches swayed. It was completely silent. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I checked outside for footprints. The ground was damp from a light mist, so I expected at least some mark, but there was nothing. No impressions, no disturbed dirt, nothing under the window at all. I told myself, maybe I imagined it. Maybe I was half asleep and misinterpreted a shadow. Maybe I was just paranoid from watching horror movies alone. That explanation lasted about 2 nights. The second time it happened, it was much clearer and much worse. It was around 1:40 a.m. when I woke up to a faint tapping sound. Little ticks at first, spaced apart like someone flicking a fingernail on glass. I sat up in bed, listening. It didn't sound like branches or wind. It sounded deliberate. The tapping continued. I got up, slowly, walked out into the hallway, and followed the sound toward the dining room window. I turned on the hallway light, but left the dining room dark so I could see outside better. The tapping stopped. I took one more step forward, and then, in the darkness of the window, I saw it, the head, peering in again. Only this time, it was closer to the glass. I could see the eyes more clearly, the way the pupils reflected the faint glow from inside the house. The skin around the eyes looked stretched, too tight, almost plastic. The head wasn't bobbing or shifting the way someone crouched outside would naturally move. It was perfectly still. I whispered, "What the hell?" And before I could finish, the head moved. Not fast, not violently, but slowly, smoothly, like someone lowering themselves down out of view. It's as if whoever it was had sunk back into the ground. I grabbed my keys and ran outside, barefoot and shaking. I expected to hear someone running away, or to see someone ducking behind a tree, but the yard was empty, and the ground still had no footprints. After that, I started keeping the curtains closed. Not just closed, covered. I even taped the edges down so no light could peek out at night. I didn't want to see anything, and I didn't want anything seeing me. For a few days, nothing happened. I tried to convince myself I had scared whoever it was off. Maybe it was some neighbor's messed up idea of a joke. Maybe it was a one-time thing. Maybe I would never see it again. Then the knocking started. It was a Friday night when I heard it. A single, soft knock on the bedroom window around 3 a.m. At first, I thought I imagined it, but then it came again. 3 knocks, soft but intentional. I froze in bed, staring across the room at the closed curtains, trying to convince myself it was just wind. Then, something dragged across the window, a slow scrape, like a fingernail drawn down the glass. My whole body went tight. I didn't move, didn't breathe, and then came the whisper. Not loud, not words, just a faint exhale right outside the window. I couldn't stand it anymore. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, ripped the curtains open. Nothing. I pressed my face to the glass, shining my flashlight straight through the yard. Nothing moved. But when the beam swept across the grass, I saw something that made my blood go cold. The grass was slightly flattened. Not from footsteps, but from something low moving across it. A long, smooth path leading away from the window and disappearing toward the tree line. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, I called my friend Josh and told him everything. He laughed at first, thinking I was exaggerating or messing with him, till he came over that afternoon and saw the flattened path. Even then, he said it was probably some animal, coon, stray dog, whatever. What raccoons don't stand upright and stare through windows. And the path was too straight. He told me to install cameras, so I did. I put one facing the backyard, one facing the front yard, and one right outside the dining room window. I felt better with them there, convinced that if something showed up again, at least I'd have proof. At least I'd know what it was. But nothing happened for 2 days, and then the cameras started glitching. It was Sunday night when I noticed it. Around 2:14 a.m., I heard the dining room camera beep, the sound it makes when it detects motion. I grabbed my phone and opened the live feed. The screen was black, not like it was off, but like something was covering the lens. I stared at my phone, heart pounding. I could hear the wind outside, faintly, but otherwise, everything was silent. Then the camera uncovered. For half a second, I saw something. Or I thought I saw something. A face, way too close to the camera. Pale skin, wide eyes, and then it went black again. The feed glitched for maybe 10 seconds, then came back. This time, totally clear. The backyard looked empty, but the motion alert wouldn't stop. It kept pinging my phone over and over, even though the live feed showed nothing. I couldn't go back to sleep. I sat on the couch with a kitchen knife in my hand, staring at the door until sunrise. The next day, I went outside to check the camera physically. The lens had smudges on it, long, greasy smears, as if someone dragged their hand down it. When I touched it, the smear felt almost sticky. I told myself it had to be condensation, or bugs, or something normal. But deep down, I didn't believe that. Things escalated 2 nights later. The night I realized whatever was outside wasn't trying to scare me. It was trying to get in.